that's how my mind works, right? And I do need to be more focused when I do that. But I feel like the fact that my teacher also works like that as well, she doesn't give me homework. She, as soon as I think about something, she types it immediately, so that way the idea is not lost, right? She has a Google Docs thing that we both share, that we both look at in real time. Like, okay, if you're trying to say this, say it like that, and she will make me say that sentence, so that way I can, what I like to call actualize it, so that way my brain remembers that I'm saying this, right? And it's really important to have a teacher that you like and that works with you, and you're already feeling like, shoot, I even thought that there was a class today, and I was like, oh, let me go ahead and do all my studies before because I feel like the last thing you want to feel when you're booking a class is like, when is this over? You never want to feel that when you're taking a class with anybody. And if you have that feeling with that teacher, then you should get another teacher, or just do it solo dolo, like just do self study. Because sometimes teachers that make you feel like that are just not worth it, because I've wasted a lot of money to realize that when teachers make me feel like that, then I just should not waste any more of my time, of my money, and my sanity, so I can actually learn and have love for this language, right? And if you don't want that teacher to be the reason why you don't want to learn this language, you don't. So just go ahead and cut it short and say, hey, look, you know what? I appreciate for all the stuff that you're doing, but I don't think this is the right thing for me, and I'll leave it there cheap. Go ahead, like just say goodbye. Like, don't waste your time. Do not waste your time. Just be a free spirit and just try to find the teacher that's right for you. And that's it. Close, like, let me just read down in the comments, right? You can use italki to find teachers for your target language. Yes, yes, you can. And they have a lot of languages, and you wouldn't think that they would have. And you can look, and this is what's good about that site, is that they'll like have videos. It's not exclusive to italki, right? But I do like that they show you the level that they have. Like they'll show like, okay, I'm native in these languages, but I also can speak this language, that language, and that language. Because sometimes you might, let's say, like, my teacher is learning Italian, right? And there's some concepts that I know from Spanish that I can use to be like, hey, Spanish, they also has this conjugation. Does it also work the same way in Egyptian Arabic? And she'll be like, yes, and then be like, no, because she knows Italian, right? So that's how that can help as well. So let me see. What do you think about the idea of self-learning a language? Ooh, okay. Well, this is interesting. So, what do I think about that? Um, I do think, well, most of my sessions I'm actually doing self-study anyway, but I feel like what this entails is that you're uh, being productive on your own time as much as you can. Because when you're booking a class with somebody, it's like on your time, but it's also on their time as well. Because both of y'all agreed to this time that you will both have a session, you will both study this, or you will study with that person. But when you do self study, all the time is on you now. Like, you have to be the one to wake up, or you have to be the one to plop up the notebook, or pop open the laptop in order to write some keynotes down, to study, to listen, and to record yourself to practice. So I feel like if you are doing those things, then that's self study for me. Um, and yes, I'll even consider like if you're on the go, then apps can be useful for self study. But I feel like you have to be stationary, because you have to be focused, right? If I'm like cooking or something, and I have a podcast in the background, yes, I'm listening and I'm definitely like acquiring what's being told to me, but I'm not studying, because I'm doing another activity, right? So my attention is divided. I'm not focusing on the language itself. But if I'm listening to the same podcast, but I have a notebook on the side. I got a dictionary popped open, and I'm repeating it, and I'm saying it out loud. I'm looking up words. I'm looking up tenses, how to conjugate. That's what I consider self study. So you have the passive act of, like, of self study, which is just listening and just kind of thinking about it, pondering it, but you're not really doing anything to look that up. Whereas the other thing is what I just mentioned, like you're physically sitting down, you're stationary, and all of your attention is on the task at hand. And you have to build up that time for yourself. I have behind me a calendar. I can even show you what my calendar consists of. So I'm going to take like a quick picture just to show you like how, and it has other stuff that's not related to whatchamacallit, self study, but I feel like this can help people sort of visualize what they can do in order to can I not take a picture? Okay, well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna take a picture on my
So
phone, and then hopefully I can just put it in like that.
mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, so sorry to interrupt you, but it's like
Mhm.
so like as I just kind of opened your profile, so I got to know that you are sort of a polyglot. So how did you learn? Like is it like self learning, or did you like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer learning with a teacher, like a professional teacher, like an italki, as you mentioned, or
Mhm.
you prefer to study a language by yourself?
Okay, that's actually an interesting question. I'm actually glad you
Hmm.
asked that. Um, I do
Thank
both.
you.
Uh, I do
Oh
both.
wow, that's
I
amazing.
don't. Yes, because for one, I feel like if you only exclusively do one, I feel like there is benefits to do self study. Like there's a,
Hmm.
you're the captain of your own ship. No one can tell you what to do. And you're
Definitely.
putting a lot of effort into the language yourself, and you
Hmm.
don't need an external source in order to do that. You're just doing it by yourself. But there's still, having a teacher. There's nothing wrong with that, and that
Yeah.
can even be a benefit because some people might not have that. I don't know, say like they might not have the drive to just
Hmm.
kind of see where they are in themselves with this language,
Hmm.
and it might even take that one teacher to do it. And I'm
Hmm.
gonna even tell you a real story about myself. I kind of
Hmm.
felt like that the first time I was learning Egyptian Arabic. Just making it clear
Hmm.
for anybody else in the audience that I'm learning Egyptian Arabic. I'm not learning Fusha. That I was like, yes, this language, this dialect is cool, but I was like, I don't know how to see myself in this language, right? And so I
Hmm.
tried two teachers on italki, and I'm like, okay, they're fine. They taught the class well, not mad, but I feel like there's something, that's missing, right? But then
Hmm.
I stumbled upon this teacher. Her name is NG. She's from Alexandria, Egypt, and
Hmm.
she's like the nicest person I met in my life. Like really, she's like a saint. And when I met her, she just spewed with like love and energy. Right, that's something that I really like from people. Like I felt her vibe, and she was down to earth. She was always nice and polite, and she's always curious to know like how my day is, or how was my day, what did I have done, what I do, and we instantly
Hmm.
turn what my thoughts are into lessons, and that's just something that blew my mind. And she made me more interested in Egyptian Arabic than any other teacher that I had. So that's the teacher I want to keep. Like I feel like I cannot lose this teacher, right? She is
Hmm.
gold, right? And I feel like when you find that teacher, it can, add, it can, what you call it, boost your experience, and it enhances your experience of the
Hmm.
language even more because of that teacher. So while I would say that having a teacher does not make it or break for you, but I feel like if you do find that teacher, it is a huge benefit once you find a teacher that's right for you.
So it's like
So I
a
think it's a
driving
both.
force.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's like a driving force for you to learn a language. Like it's something that you like, a teacher could help you to keep record of your learning progress, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Now you mentioned something about keeping a record, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. You can do that yourself. You don't need the teacher to do that, but it does help when she does it because we sometimes feel like we need somebody to be responsible for us, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if we have somebody to keep track of what we're doing, then it makes us feel better because we might be too busy, we might be absent-minded, we might
Mm-hmm.
be we might have our own personal issues that kind of makes us forget a lot of things, but
Mm-hmm.
giving somebody else the responsibility to record like everything like that would be fine. And normally teachers do that anyway. They keep a document of like all the stuff that you know that you guys went through, and they'll say
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, let's go ahead and review on this and things like that, and that's really good.
Yeah.
But when you want to record, or you want to keep a record of all the stuff that you've done, you can do that yourself, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
many ways to kind of keep track of your progress, right? And
Yeah.
I will just kind of go on a tangent real quick that one of the ways to do that is to write down your
Mm-hmm.
progress, right? And I'm not talking about writing your goals, right? Because I already stated that early in the workshop that you should write
Mm-hmm.
down your goals. So that should already be a given. But if you want to exercise your output, and the
Mm-hmm.
output, like let's say you're not ready to talk yet, but you still
Mm-hmm.
want to still put something into existence, then
Mm-hmm.
I would have a designated notebook that's only exclusively in your target language. That way,
Mm.
all of what you see, it will start out simple, but by the end of your notebook, it will be more advanced than the way you started. And so that's the way to kind of keep your progress, right? You might, and I call it a journal entry. Renella calls it's a diary. You writing the diary. Okay. But she was teasing me about it yesterday. But yes, so I write all of my feelings. I write everything about what
Mm-hmm.
I've done today, yesterday, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, how I'm feeling. I think the day before yesterday, it was very cloudy today, and I was writing. I said like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes the weather makes has an effect on me. I wrote أحيانا الجو بيأثر على مشاعري
Mm-hmm.
وهو كمان هو بيأثر على على إيه؟ أنا بفكر على حاجة بس أنا ناسي
are,
كل حاجة.
are you are you are you
You know
are
what I'm
you
saying, right?
are you speaking Arabic, like Egyptian Arabic?
Egyptian Arabic, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well,
Let
actually,
me let me let me let me look at my notebook real quick because I
and
wrote.
it's
Um,
actually really interesting to witness an American to speak Arabic like that. Like you were really perfect. Although I'm also learning Arabic. I'm just a beginner, but your Arabic sounds really like a native.
oh,
It's really amazing. Yeah, I'm
are you learning Fusar, or are you learning like a dialect?
yeah, I'm learning Fusha because I think like Fusha is something that is understood in every like Arabic country because it's a standard Arabic, right? So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
it's
correct.
like that, and I think I don't know, but it's like I find dialects a bit difficult. Maybe then they're not, but I don't know. Maybe yeah. So you like what motivated you to learn Egyptian Arabic? Like, what is the main factor?
Okay, so I'll go into this real quick, and then
Mhm,
I'm gonna go back into the language tips. So
mhm,
when I stumbled upon Egyptian Arabic, I've always been curious with Arabic in general.
mhm,
I love how Arabic is written.
mhm,
I feel like the cursive nature of his writing system is appealing to me.
mhm.
It's aesthetically pleasing, especially if you look at the calligraphy. And
Yeah,
I'm not religious or anything like that, so
yeah.
but that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate the
Mhm,
writings, especially if I look at the Quran, or if I look at a building that has Arabic writing.
mhm.
It always amazes me when I see the writings, right? But then I
Yeah.
also like how it's spoken, all
Mhm,
varieties, including Fusha, right? But Egyptian in particular, of course, they have the pyramids. of course, there are a lot of tourist sites, and again, it's in Africa, so it'll be uh, not just the first Middle Eastern country, but it'll be the first African country to go to. And of course, there's
Mm.
the Nile River, right? I want to go to that as well. And of course, there's a lot of history that I want to go into Egypt, but I feel like
Mhm.
the life of course, of any country is the people and the culture. So I do want
Yeah.
to know more about the Egyptian culture, get their
Mhm.
references, and hopefully, inshallah, sound Egyptian. That's the
Yeah,
goal for
like
anybody, really.
yeah. Egyptians, like, they have a different sort of dialect. Like, for example, to say, how are you? Like, Izayyak, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But in Fusha is like kaifa haluk. So
Right.
it's
Hmm.
yeah. So the dialects are kind of different from the standard Arabic. Like, they're sometimes very different.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So let me go back
yeah.
to, because we was talking about, what was
Sure.
it? Teachers and self-study,
Hmm.
right? And essentially, just to end on that note, that if self-study, you get, because you have more responsibility, that it would seem like an impossible task, but once you are and I don't know if you guys can see the, oh wait, hold on, did I upload the picture yet? Okay, no, I didn't. Hold on, so let me put in the picture real quick, because I
Hmm.
want to show y'all like what I do, and like what I put on there, right? Like so this right here is I actually have like an actual calendar
Hmm.
that I like actively write in. So you can see like what I do. I put sticky
Oh,
notes everywhere. Like I put sticky notes on my walls. I put sticky notes on my computer screen. It's sickening, right? I'm a fan of sticky notes. And let me
wow.
just put in a picture of my writing in Arabic for my journal entry. You know,
Hmm.
um, let me put in these two things. I actually don't know what this says, but I'm pretty sure it's nice. So, but yes. Oh no, wait. That's from WhatsApp. Hold on. Let me
You
go
seem pretty
back to
fluent
the
at Arabic.
WhatsApp. Um, Fluent. Well, ooh, actually, I do want to talk about fluency
Hmm.
in a bit, but let me just show you these pictures real quick. This came from Instagram, but I keep a log of what I write, um, and so whenever I have some difficulties understanding something, I write it down. And if English is the only way to express it right then and there, that I'll write it and save it for another time. But if I once I find out, I have to use it immediately, or I put it in my Anki deck. If you guys don't know what Anki is a space repetition system app or program where this basically works as flashcards, but the algorithm or the way that the application works helps you remember and give you like helps you remind you to study these words that you just put in. So I feel like it's very good to keep yourself motivated as well, especially if it's giving you the chance to do that. But since Usman
Hmm.
mentioned the fluency, I just want to go into that real quick. This is has really nothing to do with like how to learn a language, but this is dealing with your expectations, right? I feel like that's just as important, if not more, right? And then after I finish this, then I do want an open discussion about what is your idea of fluency. So my idea of fluency, and honestly, like now that I'm opening out there for people, fluency, it's very open ended because some people will have the weirdest interpretation of what fluency means. Because you look on the dictionary, it will have like a certain definition to mean this, right? But of course, if you ask people, it will mean like, oh, well, if I can just express like how I am, what I'm doing, and if I can be engaged in a conversation, then that's what being fluent means to me. But then some other people who go hardcore to be like, no, I have to know everything. I have to know the culture references. I have to say everything grammatically correct, and I can't think about it. I have to be about it, and I have to, like they have to have a check mark all the things in order for them to say they are fluent in that language. So this definition is very daunting and it's very scary, especially if you're just starting to learn a language. Because, for one, if it's your first time learning any language, then you don't have any idea of how to masterfully learn a language. You don't know what's the end goal. You don't know how you feel about the language because you might still be on a trial period. You still might feel like this language might not be right for you at the end of the day. So it really does boil down to what are your expectations and not necessarily like how fluent do you want to be. If your expectation is to just, say a couple of basic sentences, and you can somewhat converse about various topics, then fluency is right to say. Like, you are fluent when you can talk about, this topic and that topic, and your grammar might not be the best, but at the end of the day, if you're comfortable in that language and you can talk about that particular topic, sufficiently or just enough, I feel like that's okay. But if you have high standards for yourself, then you really do have to work on the fluency, because then people can just say that, well, yes, you can say all these things. You might consider yourself like, I think, oh wait, where's Rose? I feel like Rose should have been here. Um, she'll find us. I know she will. But anywho, there's this European framework of fluency that's like the A1 to the C2. Everybody knows it, right? And people think sometimes that if I get a B2, I can get this job. And I even looked on Facebook that most of those jobs require people or locals to get a B2 in English just to get a telemarketing job, right? And that might be good that, like, oh, I had a B2, that must mean I'm good. That must mean I'm intermediate. But if you actually really, look at their framework versus like what are you actually doing in your life with this language, then you start to realize that you're actually not shit. Like, you actually realize that B2 don't really mean anything when you can't even talk about if you go into a conversation, you say you're a B2 or you're almost to C1. And let's say, oh no, even better. Let's say that you're C1, but you go into a conversation and everybody's talking about nuclear fission. You don't have a goddamn clue of like how to. I don't even know how to talk about nuclear fission. Shit, you thinking that I'm gonna go into a conversation without any like knowledge, or at least try to learn and listen before I go into a conversation? No, and your C1 might instantly turn to an A2 because you have the lack of knowledge about that particular subject. Most natives probably don't even know about nuclear fission because it's a specific topic, right? People
Exactly.
who are scientists who are interested
Mm,
in those things, like they already spend their lives knowing about this particular topic. And people who are science nerds who already think of things logically, they already can think about this stuff. But the average day Joe doesn't think about this stuff. Not saying that their intelligence is not there, but that is true. Like, I don't. I try to stay well versed into a lot of things, but I know my vocabulary is not as close as their vocabulary. They got particular jargons. They're definitely using longer and scientific words. And we're not talking about them just being smart Alex, right? I mean, like, these are terms that they're actually using to define, the physical existence of our universe, right? So this is stuff that, like, yes, you probably should step back and rethink about your C1 level, because
mhm,
I'm a native, but like, I don't have all the vocabulary to talk about nuclear fission. That's the truth.
mhm.
And I'm a native.
Yeah.
So you got to really think about your definition of fluency if you're trying to go into a topic that you have no business being in.
Mhm. So it's like fluency, the terminology is somewhat subjective to every person, right?
Yes. Yes, it
Mhm,
is. I mean, but we can. I mean, it's fluid and it's flexible. I
mhm,
do hate how fluid it is sometimes, because sometimes we can say like, oh, I'm fluid, and then someone could just say like three sentences and they're fluent by that definition, and it's like,
mhm.
no, you're not fluent. So we have to be honest with ourselves, but also
Exactly.
have some expectations, because sometimes looking at those levels can be misleading if you
Yeah.
really pay attention to what they're saying, or how much they're listening, right, or
Mm-hmm.
what they don't listen to. Because and I promised earlier that I was going to go into the listening aspect, right? That
Mm-hmm.
listening to something and understanding it are just as important, if not more, than your ability to speak. Because I stated yesterday in another room that I'd rather have somebody with a broken accent but can understand me 100% than someone who has a perfect accent and does not understand a goddamn thing I say. Because
Exactly.
really, at the end of the day, the essence of languages is communication.
Sure.
You know, we have signals, we
Mm-hmm.
have signs, we give gestures to mean certain things. But if you can't even get me at that level, then we're done talking. Like it's a done
Yeah,
deal.
that's
Like
true. That's true. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
So so it's really important to just kind of reevaluate what your actual level is so you can be better, right? I know my current level in Egyptian Arabic, is far better than what it was 2 years ago. And I'm so glad I've, was disciplined enough to continue this journey that I have. But I know I'm not there yet, but I'm starting to see the progress unfold before me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know I can actually become more grounded in my studies, that you got to trust the progress, or you got to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
The doing the process will help you get the fluency that you want. And like I stated before, if you don't set your goals in mind, then your
Mm-hmm.
fluency will shift, and usually it will be bad. And the only person that you're going to disappoint is yourself, because you set out those goals for yourself. I want to be
Mm-hmm.
fluent. I want to speak 5, 15 languages. And not even the best polyglots speak maybe 10 of those things at a fluent level. Like you might hear about Luco Lamperialo, you might hear Lindy Bosch, you might hear Moses McCormick,
Shauma.
aka Lao Shu, Shama. Those people don't speak all of those languages fluently. They have maybe
True.
the top 10 or even the top five.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best, and then everything between them might be conversational, and then the rest are
Exactly.
like A1. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
and you get because like YouTube sometimes we're in the clickbait culture, like, oh, white guy speaks perfect Hindi,
Yeah, yeah,
perfect
yeah.
Chinese,
Yeah.
black man speaks
Me
perfect,
too.
blah blah blah. And
Also,
I'm just like,
yeah.
okay guys, like they're doing this so they can get the views, and they even hit the
Exactly.
disclaimer that they just started learning this language, so they're not expecting too much because they're already perfect in their top languages. So this is
Mm-hmm.
just like a free fall. This is just fun for them, right? They're just having fun. But if they
Mm-hmm.
want to improve the languages that they already speak, they would,
Mm-hmm.
they already paid the top teachers to make sure that they're up to date. They're reading um, all the like many articles and various topics so they can keep up with the lingo, the terminology. They're listening to thousands and thousands of hours in the same language. They already invested their lives in these languages, and
Mm-hmm.
for them to jump on another language just so they can have some brevity, so they can just chill the fuck out, like that's all they're doing with those languages. They're not that their expectation of those languages are already low, so they don't disappoint themselves because they already got 10 languages that they're already trying to master, and then adding
Mm-hmm.
15 more is just a playground for right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, so now I think I do want to open the discussion just a bit about their ideas of fluency, what it means to them, or any
Mm-hmm.
questions on how to sort of assess this situation, because really, like, fluency, like Usman was saying, is very subjective, because
Mm-hmm.
somebody who thinks they know it all only knows two sentences, but somebody will might be too hard on themselves, but they actually know a lot more than what they realize, so they can speak and understand more than their ability to be correct, but their fluency is just like high. They know a lot of vocabulary, they know certain idioms, and I feel like that's still fluent if you are already at that stage where you're being like that was it called the imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're not good enough but you're actually doing a lot more than what you realize. So it's a never ending cycle of this definition of fluency, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it boils down to your expectations and goals. So what do you guys think about fluency? Do you have any questions, concerns, comments, agree, disagree? What are your thoughts on it? Usman, I know you're ready to just hop on in.
But yeah,
or Eddie, or either one. Like I whoever wants to just jump on in.
Tell me. Sorry, Ishmael?
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Anyone who wants to jump in. I think Usman was about to speak first, and then Eddie, you can go if you want. What are your
Okay,
thoughts on fluency, man?
perfect.
yeah, Eddie could share it first. Eddie, you could share it first because my question was a little bit different. I was like, I was gonna ask about the timing it requires to learn a new language. But yeah, Eddie, you should share your opinion first because it's the topic is fluency right now, so you just have to share your
Hmm.
opinion first. So you should go first, Eddie.
Well, so actually, one of the most important things for me when you're in a target language, it's basically try try to always practice. So now practice and practice and practice over and over again. That helps you to be more fluent. At the same way, helps you to be more open mind and like get a more vocabulary, and also try to put in practice while you're learning. So one of the most tough part for students most of the time is like I don't know, like learning grammar for a reason, because grammar is part of the structure. But well, so what I did when I started learning a new language was to acquire vocabulary as much as I can. So and then just try to put in order in some like short sentences, and then try to give a good structure. Be guided by a person who has experience in the language, or not even being with that person. Just try to see any tutorial in YouTube or any video who are already like who is already prepared for someone with experience in that language, and then just try to be guide and take it up what the person was teaching me at that moment, what the video showed me up, and then start speaking. So that's it. Is basically what I do when I learn in a new language. Well, so in my case, in English, it was completely different because I took another way. So I was guided by university studies and whatever. But I'm now learning new languages. For me, it's like a really good challenge, and like sometimes it'll be tough because I'm not really associated with people who are like teaching that language what I want to learn right now. But I just go over any table here and start listening people speaking. And of course, if I know any couple of words, I start participating. Even being out of like the real conversation, but I just want to try to listen and then repeat and over. That's it.
Okay. Oh, what's my buddy Usman? I was hoping he would stay. My name is Ismail. Yes, my name is. Well, my name is Ishmael, but it's the same meaning, Nafsa Haga. But yes, I saw a question. How did you achieve the advanced level in Spanish? I'm still on intermediate level, and I want to advance my Spanish learning. Any tips? Definitely. Well, I sometimes have the this problem in Spanish now that like at other times when my mind is fully concentrated, I feel like I can speak Spanish like flawlessly. But then also I'll have days where I just don't give a damn and I will even miss out like the most basic of things. And I was like, yo, like I've definitely listened to this 1,000 times, so I'm not stupid, but why I feel like I haven't progressed yet. And I would say like I could definitely be conversational in Spanish. Like I have no problem. Like I was just in Eddie's room yesterday just speaking in Spanish for a majority of the time. So I can at least say for myself that I can hold my own in a Spanish conversation. Most of the stuff that goes into my head are like hitting the points. Like everything is like crystal clear to me. I don't have to translate in my brain. It just happens. I know exactly how to respond to it. And even then, I will say like I will consider myself advanced once I hit all of those gray areas that I still have in Spanish, right? That's what I would consider like advanced. But I'm definitely, far better than, well, actually, I don't even know because I'm actively using more Arabic in my life now than I did, in like in any point in my life. So I feel like sometimes like certain languages get left behind, and once you lose it, you once you don't use it, you lose it. and that's the fear that I do have, which I do have a plan in order to remedy that, right? But next year I'm going to do Korean, and then the year after that I'm going to brush up all the languages that I've studied, and I'm going to try to work on those languages. I'm not going to learn any other languages just so I can focus on that. But just to answer your specific question about how to get out of that intermediate purgatory. There's I forgot the name of the theory, but it's the thing where you feel like all like you're still on that plateau where like you're still at the same level. You don't see the progress because you've made such a big leap from beginner to intermediate that you don't see the leap from intermediate to advanced, right?
Yeah.
Because the gap between intermediate and advanced is so small, but it's also like not as clear. You know what I'm saying? So like it really when you and I think this process takes the longest, right? That you have to really hone on your skills. You really have to have to do thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of listening and actually executing, focusing your energy on this language, right? And once you immerse yourself into this language, then I feel like you can be, or at least consider yourself advanced. If you can take it like a test and you pass like with a 90%, that's reassuring. But again, we just already stated that just because you see C1 on your level does not make you fluent, right? So we're already establishing that as the basis for what oh, as like that doesn't make you fluent, but it can be misleading sometimes because we feel like you know I can't really speak this language, or it already discourages us to progress even further in the language because they feel like they have already reached the top of the ceiling and there's nothing else that they can do. It's just that they are dealt with the cards that they have, and that's it. But that's not true at all. You know, like people who become fluent in that one language spent probably 10 years, you know, just focusing on that one language. And they themselves at that time knew that they were probably fluent probably after maybe 5 years, but they just kept on going because they get lost in the good way, right? They devote their lives to this language now. Like everything makes sense now, so why stop? And yeah, after 10 years, you can definitely say like, oh yeah, I'm fluent. Like I'm definitely advanced. Like I'm no scrub at all. But you've already spent a lot of time in that language, so it is what it is. But because the goal to become advanced is so like you have to devote a lot of like, you have to devote more time to become advanced, I feel. So I feel like that's the way you can kind of clear it out. I haven't even seen the finish line yet for me in Spanish. I just know that I have enough skills to deduce, to ask questions, and to figure it out on my own because of how many languages I speak now. And I know that I can take in different interpretations. So, and I stay well versed in the, what was it just yesterday? We was learning that, was it Eddie took a picture of his son who passed out, but he accidentally put passed away. And we were just like, don't put that. Don't put that. But it's just like but we because he explained in Spanish that's how they would express that. But if I were to hear that in Spanish, I would probably think that somebody died. So just thinking about translations and thinking about like you have to be well versed and kind of just expect the unexpected. Like, oh, they probably don't really mean in this context that this person is dead. You know, why would Eddie show a picture of his son who's actually dead? Like that would be like very cruel and wrong. So obviously it's a metaphor. Obviously it's what they say when someone is like dead ass tired, you know? So it's very good to just kind of expect the unexpected, where you're throwing yourself into ambiguity, which just means like when you throw yourself into things that you just don't understand, where things are not clear, and it's okay, right? Everything is gray, everything's not black and white, everything is just unclear. But you have to make sense out of that. So once you make sense out of that, or once you immerse yourself in the language, then it will make sense to you. But it doesn't make sense to you now, that's fine. just keep on working at it, and it will make sense in the future, inshallah.
Yeah. So can I say something, Isma?
Yeah.
Of course, basically, so what I think one of the most important steps, as Ishmael explained right now, the importance of always immersing yourself in the language and also practicing more and more. So yesterday he said, so I just texted down how probably most of the people say in South America when someone is super tired, you just go to sleep and said, so we pass away, like the person murió. So what it means, like the person is just full of tired and just without sleep, that's it. But pass out is the best way of the best form to say this expression. I was just basically like telling them how we express that in Spanish, and they just were laughing, and they were also running like just texted down, telling me how the people used to in the US telling it about it. And so even me been studying English for a long time, we just sometimes make mistakes because probably we don't like really fully small thing that probably we shouldn't know, but we don't apply anymore, and we sometimes tend to forget it. So that's the reason one of the most important words I would be repeating and would be practicing. So another way be please don't feel regardless or shame when you make mistakes. So because all of us are making mistakes every single moment in any language, even in our own language. Because we are not perfect, we are the dictionary would probably cannot have all the expression and words or declaration something clear in our minds. So that's the reason
Exactly.
we are just here learning and trying to be more accurate and try to be more like concentrated in our process of learning and getting new knowledge of a language. So I have seen people here in HiLokal participating in other languages. For example, we have here Rose. Rose is from Africa and she speaks English as a native language, as Ishmael Ranella as well. So, but even being native there, so there's something they have just like few differences, probably how they pronounce something, or how they say something, or probably how they just change any word, like any sentence,
Yes.
because it's like the matter of fact of the language. So every country, every part, every region changes a lot of the words or expressions, but we probably how we use in our like country is different when another country use that. That's it.
Exactly. Hey, Rose, how's it going? I was just hoping you was gonna stop by.
Hi, hi Ish, hi everyone. Yes, I'm not chasing kids today, but still, it's today has been a technical error day, but it's fine. Yes,
Oh
I made
no.
it. Hi.
Yes, finally. Oh man. Oh, and Sandy's here. Oh, we got a full house.
Yay!
We're fully of our stuff, so we're not plenty
Yeah.
stuff here. Rose and the full
Hey
of
Sandy, how's it
teachers. Oh
going?
yeah, yeah.
I try to get a lot of people up here. But yeah, whatchamacallit? Ranella is here, kind of, but she's technically in another class, so she's
Yeah,
not devoting her time for me.
I
she's
just
here
left
but
the
not
table.
here.
Yeah, I just left the table. I was like, Isha's class is starting. And she was like, yeah. And I could tell from her voice, like, you're supposed to be in this class too. And I was like, I'm going to just scoot over there, for a bit.
Yes. Anybody else wants to come up? We got two more spots. Maybe you just want to, you know, verbally say your question because sometimes I'm really bad at looking at the whatchamacallit, the chat box because I'm just long-winded, so I just tend to ignore
So if you
because the
want
chat.
Me
Ishma, I
too.
can. If you want Ishma, I can read what the people are texting down
Oh
while you're
yes, please,
speaking.
please.
Okay.
Awesome sauce. Yeah. Hey TK, how's it going?
Hello, how's everyone?
Yeah, doing good,
And
doing good. And I
enjoyed
know.
enjoyed what you've been saying. I really appreciate what you're saying about language learning.
Oh,
Hey Rose. Hi
oh,
everyone.
awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm
Hi,
glad. I'm
TK.
glad.
Hi, Tiki.
Hello.
Yes.
I
I
think
saw your comment earlier about Korean grammar being impossible. I wish I had experience on that because I know it's the SVO, and I know that most sentences in Korean drop the S because it's already clear from context. So, and I know like dealing with grammar can be stressful. Sometimes I'm still going through that with like nitty gritty stuff. But I guess like the best way I would like kind of get rid of that, or at least to make it easier for yourself, is to just like focus on the patterns and the rhythm of like how people are saying these things. And someone asked me this question yesterday. I think L, she was from China. She asked me this question yesterday, and she said, "Oh no, it was somebody else. It wasn't Elle. It was somebody else. I think her name was Lauren." She asked, "So what do you mean by patterns and rhythm when you're defining like how to?" So when we first learn a language and we're just focusing on grammar, that's obviously like the worst thing to do. Or at least it's not helpful when you focus so much on grammar in the beginning stages, because that's the traditional way that we were taught to learn stuff, is to learn the grammar, because obviously if you can't make a cohesive sentence, then no one can understand you. That's absolutely fine. And it's okay to learn basic grammar because you need building blocks in order to convey your meaning, and things like that. But when you hyper focus on grammar, I think that it's not beneficial, because you're going to waste your time on concepts that you have not experienced or have no had no grasp of. So and it's easier to think about grammar as patterns rather than like our traditional sense of grammar, like syntax, the structure of our words and sentences and meaning. And what I mean by patterns is just recognizing just like the way that people say certain things. Um, if they change a word or two that's not traditional in its grammar, then that's a pattern. If you notice that they're adding this pitch or intonation early in a word, then that's a pattern. Uh, it's recognizing things. Like, this is what I mean by patterns. It's just you just recognizing things. So I'll give you an example in Egyptian Arabic. And again, I'm stressing that I'm learning Egyptian Arabic and not Fusha, just in case for all the um, Arabic speakers who are in the audience. It's so when I hear Egyptian Arabic, my impression of the way they speak is kind of musical in a sense, but it's different from how other Arabic speakers speak, right? So when they say something like أهم حاجة أنا بحب كل حاجة أنا بحب حاجة, you hear this أهم حاجة أهم حاجة, like I repeat that part in my head. And even let's say I do not know what أهم حاجة or أهم حاجة means. It just means important thing, like the most important thing. But let's pretend like I don't know what that word means. If I'm paying attention to the way he's saying it, أهم حاجة, and like it goes up and down like this, and I can mimic that because I'm paying attention to it. Like, it sounds pleasing to me, and that makes me even more curious to know what he's saying and what he means by that. So this is also what I mean by pattern and the rhythm, especially with rhythm, right? Because when you can't detect the way that they're saying it, then all the words that they're sandwiching in between will not make sense to you. That's why last time I put a video in the chat box last time about how to. It was from a YouTuber named Matt versus Japan. He speaks Japanese at a godlike level. He's an American who devotes all of his time into Japanese, right? But he also gives language learning tips, and most of the stuff that I actually learned was from him and other YouTubers. So when he made a video on how come I can't hear my target language. And he stated in one part of his video that uh, you've been learning this language for maybe for a long time, or at least enough to at least make your own sentences. But when you hear a native speaker say the exact same thing, you feel like you have not heard of it. Like it's like, what, I've never heard this word before. But then when someone translated you like what he meant by that, it's a word that you know. They're like, oh, wait a minute, I actually know that word. So how come I couldn't hear it? Because you have not tuned in to that frequency. You have not tuned in, right? Because this is how normal speech goes. This is how most natives would say this sentence. For example, if you're a learner of English, right, and you have a textbook and they have an example in one exercise that says, don't you want to go to the store, right? Just like that. And if your expectation of that sentence is going to be consistent with how native speakers, talk, then you're going to fool yourself. Because if I were to look at the exact same sentence, I would say, don't you want to go to the store? And what happened is, it's the exact same sentence, but what happens is that certain sounds certain sounds within that sentence get morphed in, get taken out, completely change. Especially the first part, don't you, don't you. So the T and the Y sound apparently just morphing together to a chew sound, don't you. And I don't know why that is the case, but over the course of English, or maybe American English, or even British English, that sound just morphed into chew, you know. And we often say in this combination, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to do that? Don't you want to go outside? And once you get used to that sound, then every time you hear chew, you think of, oh, he's asking me, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? And you can recognize it easily because you recognize that pattern, right? But you have to get used to that and not what the textbook is saying. Now, you're also saying to yourself, well, how can I listen to that if I don't know what they're saying? But this is where you can look at, for example, if you have Netflix or you have YouTube, for example, and you always turn on the caption, right? Or you turn on the subtitles, then I do this a lot because I often can't understand uh, the way that native speakers speak at a fast level. Then it's good to have the subtitles there so that way they're actually saying these words. But then take note of like how the words change, right? When a sentence ends and when the sentence begins, sometimes they will say it under one breath, sometimes they will pause, sometimes they will add emphasis to one word or another at the beginning or the end of the word. It really does depend, right? So I could say the exact same sentence, don't you want to go to the store, right? It's a completely simple question. But if I want to add emphasis to something, or let's say like I'm frustrated at my coworker because he doesn't know what he wants to do. So I say, don't you want to go to the store, right? And he's like, okay, fine, yes, I want to go to the store, right? But now my intensity changed because I am enunciating with aggression on every single word that I say, right? It's completely different from how I said it before. So I don't say chew, I say don't you instead of chew, right? So the sound completely changes, right? Or at least it's more standardized. But with the intensity that I just said it, like it you paid attention, it's more alarming, and now you pay attention to those sounds. So it's good to have that type of variety to understand how native speakers say sentences, or how to say even the basics of sentences. So this is how you can recognize patterns. This is how you can understand what natives are saying when you devote enough time to listen to these patterns, right? Pay attention to when they're adding the intonations, right? Pay attention to when one sentence starts and then when one sentence ends, right? Because depending on the language, sometimes that period will not exist. They might just continue like this and go to another one, but then I like to talk like this. Sometimes you know what I'm saying? Like it will just kind of continue like a run-on sentence. Like a lot of people sometimes talk like a run-on sentence. Like there's no period. They just keep on going and going and going and going until you go crazy, right? But sometimes people talk like that, including myself. I talk and run on sentences. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh,
Well, yeah,
lordy.
it's actually true about people sometimes forget how to read properly, correctly. And that happens to me sometimes when I'm reading here. Like, I remember one time I was participating in one of the Ranella's table, and she just like let us reading all of us. And I was reading and I forgot to read I think it was in a dub, yeah, and she said, just please try to be more calm and try to do again because you're not like you're reading but not punctuating. And one of the most important parts when you're reading, try to be accurate and try to be like more correct as you can, and then you're gonna be like
Mhm.
more, I know, more clear in your reading context. So that's the point. And unfortunately, many people never do that because they just simply say, well, so I just know how to read it and that's it. But when I be
Exactly.
more professional, when I be more, yeah, more prepared instead, so I just try to be more focused on and try to use all these tips and all the punctuation and intonation correctly. So I mean
Yeah,
the words can change a lot. How you pronounce, how you sound.
absolutely. Sandy, Rose, you got, oh man, everybody don't left.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why
Oh.
I have this effect. So I start talking and everybody's going, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on mute."
No, but like there was a question down the thing. I didn't read it, but it
Mhm.
was like I have a question. It was like, is that a right way Muslim people like God or Allah? Because Allah has 99 names. God is not one of them. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I don't want to make this religious. Like, come on, y'all. Like,
Yeah, that was Stan. He's still in the comment section. Stan, unfortunately,
yeah,
that topic is not supposed to be for this class. But however,
yeah,
what I would say is the people who believe or practice that religion, you may need to approach them and ask them directly. Do you understand,
yeah.
Stan? Because mixing up religions will only bring up conflict or arguments and all of that.
Yes. But anywho, it's not a problem. It was a general question, but that might not be pertaining to this room. And I know you're probably asking the Muslims that were in this room, but it's so that way people can be more inclusive into the topic or just language learning in general. And you can chat privately, or you can make another room to ask about these things. Because I know Allah, the name, is a linguistic nightmare for everybody to define what does it mean, God or a God or anything like that. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this room. The purpose of the room is to learn how to learn a language. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So yeah, like pronunciation and stuff like and I know Rose, like you value listening by ear, because I was on a roll of like paying attention to the rhythm and patterns, and then you will get a better sense of like what natives are saying. So what do you feel about listening and just paying attention to key patterns to help your comprehension? What do you think about that?
For me, listening is everything because I mean, reading and writing for me is horrid, is terrible. It is the worst thing you can tell me to do. It is the worst thing, honestly. Like, it's basically reading and writing is like giving me homework. I will cry. Listening is everything for me. So, because of that, of course, I do observe patterns and pronunciations. That is the reason why when I repeat things or I mimic things, I do sound like a native speaker for whatever language I'm learning in. Listening is everything. It's because I learn by ear, I am able to pick. Um, I'm able to pick small inflections, the way some words or letters may disappear from words and things like that. These are small things that, just like you said, Ish, matter to a native speaker. Just like you said, for example, a native English speaker, we're having a proper conversation here with people who speak properly. It will be like, "Oh, how you doing?" It's how you doing. Meanwhile, the sentence is, "How are you doing?" Things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So because I'm able to
Yes.
pick by ear, it's very easy for me to detect these things, the ups and downs, the way words disappear or appear, things like that. So yes, listening is everything for me. Any other thing though, it's like, no, I don't want to do it.
I know that's right. Shoot.
So, but bro, it's not just something happening in English, also in any other language as well. When you start feeling confidence in the language and you really know you can express by your way, like just let the flow go. So you start like adding or omitting word that probably shouldn't be omitted, but just to do it cause your mind immediately like click it up and say, well, so I just need to omit right now because I know how to express that. And unfortunately, that provokes sometimes like a little, sometimes like a little bit misconfusion in people when people are learning the language. So that's why right now I'm trying to control myself more when I'm speaking here in classes, especially when we're having beginning people, because there's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I speak super fast and I learn thanks to Renellans and in Ishmael controlling myself more and try to be more clear because when you like just let your mind fly and then you try to be or back to the reality, you see that things in another way. And also when you're in advanced level, when you think, when your mind is going over, you say, well, so why doing basics instead of like using advanced one? But there's sometimes we need to be more like self-conscious and try to back to the basics and try to remember
Mm-hmm.
what we learn and how people are feeling or reacting at that moment. So there's some time when we forget the basic when we are like over like intermediate or high level, and so we need to probably click it up to the basis and then start again doing the things correct.
Absolutely.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. And
True. I'm
maybe
sorry, Ish.
just
If I can add to that,
uh-huh.
also listening and following flows also helps with dialects. The language is
Mm-hmm.
there, and then most languages have different dialects. That's variations of how it's spoken. For
Mm-hmm.
languages that have a lot of dialects, listening to the way they pronounce things would help you detect where such and such a person is from. For
Yes.
example, yeah, my language in northern Nigeria, we have a general language called Hausa, and then each
Mm-hmm.
tribe also has its own language. Now, that general language differs from northern Nigeria to northeast to northwest to north central based on how you speak and based on the pattern of your words, the way the things flow, that is even without even paying attention to the actual words that are said, you can tell, oh, this person is from the northeast. Oh, where are you from? Are you from so 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 place, or are you from so so state? So that also helps when they're trying to detect dialect, or detect or trace a certain village and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you on that. For example, and now that Emmy's here, she could definitely back me up on this one. In Egyptian Arabic, or in Arabic in general, there's a letter called G, and it's pronounced with a J sound. But as you know, of the dialect I'm studying, Egyptian is notorious for changing the sound from a J sound to a Gin, so it's more of a g sound. So if I say haja, then it will be haga. Like most Egyptians would say haga. But because I'm so focused on this dialect that I'm used to hearing it haga, right? But in Arabic, traditionally, it should be with j. And if I hear the j sound, I know that they're not Egyptian, right? But then at least they're not from Cairo, because there are other people that's in the south of Egypt that actually has this j sound. But again, that at least exposes me to variations of this sound, right? And so you are definitely right when you recognize different dialects and you recognize the intonations, the patterns, then you can also tell that certain people say certain things differently, but you can still follow, right? I also speak Portuguese, and of course, I'm used to speaking Brazilian Portuguese, but I can completely understand somebody who's from Angola and from Mozambique because the similarity of, I say, like pitch and I think it's just because Brazilian Portuguese just sounds just as African and black to me. So I feel like that's the reason why it resonated with me even more to hear other black Portuguese speaking people. But even with European Portuguese, which it just sounds like wow, like it's so different. But I can still understand them because I pay attention to the words that I know and I put them into context of like what they could possibly mean, and I have a correct way to respond to that. So yes, it's different, but that does not discourage me to engage with them. You know, so knowing these pattern differences, you can tell somebody's different. But because it is their native language, then you can definitely add that to your of sounds to reproduce or to recognize, right? Okay, I know that he's from Australia, so I know how Australians sound. I know what British people sound like, so this is how I want to sound like British, or I know how most Americans sound, so I'm going to sound like an American, things
Yeah.
like that. So it's really important to kind of have this pattern recognition, so that way, if you feel like you're lost, you have some grasp of like what people sound like, because then your mind's just gonna hyper focus on those particular sounds that's gonna help you move on from sentence to sentence to the main point. And it comes a long way to know these pattern recognitions. Hey, Emmy, are you there? I'm sorry, I didn't bring any present.
Uh,
Oh, because it's her birthday. Yeah,
uh,
it was because it's
it's
Renella's birthday.
like
Renella's not here right now.
I'm on mic, so she's having problem with her mic. So
Oh, yeah. Come on, Emmy. Come on, Emmy.
she
Emmy.
left. So
She'll come back. She'll
actually,
come
what you
back.
said, Ishmael, so I can be a witness about it, cause well, so I talk about my process as a learner. So I remember my very first moment when I was younger and I watched up Harry Potter in my very first time, and I couldn't
Hmm.
understand anything. So even being related with American English, but like, well, so I could understand the context of the movie, most of the what the people said, but later on when they start using like more the magical words or like something of those, I just felt like confused, and then so I repeat up and over like after the third time when I watched up the movie and I fully understood that movie. But then it's just because at that time I was not like really associated with the dialect, with how people in UK or how the British people speak. So and also now I feel more confident in, so and I have the capacity to understand everyone here. So it doesn't matter nationality. There's sometimes when people have like a really strong accent, probably as me, and they are not native, but you still for your mind to understand people because you want to set a really good conversation in it. So and it's so funny because like people hear native being, so sometimes start speaking with someone who's not a native, and probably they have not the capacity understanding that person and just try to understand that one and try to translate to another one. So how what the person is selling it, and that's well, it's super helpful because just let your mind be blown again away,
What?
and you say, well, so finally,
What? What? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. What? What? What the deuce? Renella, you
well,
can't be here twice. What?
well, so computer and phone, man, computer and phone. So Renee, let's.
What?
She's from her, I think, laptop. But first, hi
Oh my
everyone.
goodness.
I
Hey,
mean,
Emmy.
so she's
Actually, yeah,
omnipresent,
this has
so
happened
she's like
before.
a
This
god.
has happened before, and I told her, "You are, I can see you twice," and she said, "Yeah." She make it clear for me that she's using her laptop, I think.
She's
Yeah,
making
her
it clear
laptop
for
and
me.
complete
Child,
like her
she's
laptop
always
and phone
Emmy.
as well. So today I
It's
was
good
in
to
Rose
see her.
classes. Today I was in Rose classes, and she did the same one. She was using computer and phone at the same time. So and she said,
Yeah,
"What? So what? How possible it is?" But later
yeah.
on, you understand. So
Okay, what actually happened in my class was I was trying to start my table and it wouldn't start. So I at first attempted to start it with my phone and it wouldn't start. I then attempted to start it with my laptop. So apparently, starting one table, within a span of maybe a minute or two, would open two tables. So I
Oh,
opened with the laptop and I was, sitting comfortably trying to pin, and apologizing to everyone. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to pin. And then someone walked into my room, was like, teacher, there's two of you, first of all. And secondly, there's two tables with this name. And I was like, I don't understand. She sent me a private message. She was like, two tables. Scroll, you see the second table. And I was like, okay. And then I
oh
had to
my
like
God.
take my laptop out and go search for the other table and close it, then come back. And then someone else was like, teacher, was there two of you here? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I am here in the room with my laptop and my phone. And the dude was like, oh, okay, so we can do that. Okay. I was like, oh, yes, we can. And
Oh
Eddie
my
wouldn't stop
God.
laughing. Eddie was like,
But
So
so
are you
actually, it's
Rose
a
right
really
now?
good strategy. It's a really good strategy when your devices are not working rightly. So that helps you to continue with the class. And unfortunately, for I have seen people here like teachers, trainers teaching class, and then apparently they have problems with phones or laptops, and like start missing most of the time in classes. So that's why people as Rose decide just probably use both devices and work better. And that's it's a really good one on supporting your classes and your devices as well.
Exactly. Ooh. Well, I think this could be free session now, since most of the people are like gone. And I think I got most of my educational um spirit out. But like earlier, Rose, you missed it because like when I was first started the room, I was just like extremely tired because I just woken up from a nap, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just like whatever, like low energy. Like let me just do this. Yeah, it is what it is. Yes, yes. Stop the live stream. Stop the live stream. But I don't know how that ended, but yeah.